fashion itself is such a enormous industry. And then in today's day and time, when we're looking at sustainable ecological things have to be a very big part of our brands. Please tell us how you incorporated this aspect in the brand.
I've traveled 70% of the India. So that itself means that I have seen a lot more places at a very early age. So when we design, when we work upon those things first are picked up. Fashion is something which is subjective. So people will like it and will not like few things.
Welcome to Voice It with Karishma Shah.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Voice It with Karishma. We are here today with a very exciting guest. We have Mr. Gautam with us today. He is the co-founder of Asha Gautam, the luxury brand which deals with beautiful handloom textiles and amazing outfits that come out so beautiful that the person who's wearing it also kind of, feels like I'm wearing a heritage piece on myself, Firstly, Mr. Gautam, thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. I'm very excited for people to know the entire journey of how Asha Gautam started.
Thank you, Karishma, and a great welcome to all the followers of your YouTube channel.
Thank you. So, Mr. Gautam, please tell us, how did I know that the brand is named after your mother, and the entire initiative that she started, and then you joined the program, and now you both are co-founders. Please tell us a little bit about how it started as a journey for you.
So, as you mentioned, it was. In 1998, actually before that, my mother designed certain saris for my sisters in their weddings, and she always had this creativity in her blood during her childhood days and during her school days. And it was in their weddings where it actually came out, where she designed and people loved it, and they told her that why don't you start something. But very like a homemaker, like reserved person, she was always very doubtful about how it will be in the world of fashion or stuff. But after consistent persistence from the family, she did started a capsule collection. She's a sari lover, so she started with the collection of saris itself. And initial 3-4 days only, the response was really amazing and very optimistic and promising, which encouraged and gave her a booster to develop more pieces. So that was like in '98 when she actually did it, and she then kept on expanded the collection, made more pieces, more carigars were hired, more collaborations was done, and this is how the basic journey started. I was studying then and helping her around by because there were a lot of things which requires logistics understanding, paperwork, and maybe helping her with clients. So I was part of the journey, not actively but passively, because I was completing my education, my grad, my post graduation. It was after my post graduation when I discussed with her and how much I love the brand and love the the crash to the journey till then. And I said, okay, let's work together and take this forward. So that's when I came into the picture and we both started working. So when she started initially, it was work, around Delhi. Okay, very little traveling across to other parts and more, centralized.
Yes.
Because coming from my master's background, I realized that it's very important to understand where the country's strength is. And, with me, she got a support also because it was not easy then to find out about information about the clusters, about the karigars, because Google just started and, there was no social media.
Yeah.
So we both traveled to slowly and steadily to the various parts of the country, and cluster after cluster, weave after weave, craft after craft, we started stitching together those to the brand and made
Fantastic.
ourselves our story along with those crafts and created something new for the clients.
Yes.
Everything what we have achieved today is with the biggest supporter is our client base. They're more like families to us. So when
Yes.
we start getting better response, good response, and business out of it, we got encouragement to do more.
Yes.
So I will say, like in the past almost 25 years now, we have traveled to almost 6 states, more than 12 clusters, more
Yes.
than 10,000 kilometers, and stitched around 30 crafts with the brand.
That is
So
fantastic.
yeah, so the journey is quite fulfilling in its own ways because the diversity that India has is there in our brand, because you
Yes.
see a lot of crafts together. You don't just see one particular segment being there.
Yes. You did
So
mention the crafts. And on that note, I feel like, you know, the heritage of our country itself is to
yeah,
propagate the local artisans, the kind of, beautiful, intricate work that we do as craftsmanship in India itself. And I feel like
right.
Asha Gautam as a brand has encapsulated that. And, even with the kind of, sustainable ecological work that you are doing at the moment, fashion itself is such it's an enormous industry. And then in today's day and time, when we're looking at sustainable ecological things have to be a very big part of our brands. Please tell us how you incorporated this aspect in the brand.
So before I come to this point, I have to add one more thing to what you have said. See,
Yeah.
people like years back, and even now, like be it clients in India, be it overseas clients, they
Yeah.
consider European brands or made in Italy or made in US as something very premium. I'm saying this point, and this is not me, the entire fraternity who believe in the craft will say that made in India is the most luxury brand or the identity in the world. We have missed out a lot in branding and marketing. That's a weak area of the country itself. But to be honest, we are the biggest luxury manufacturers, designers, and creators of the world. That is point number one. Second
Absolutely.
point was about the sustainable part and the ecological part. See, what happens is that when you start, okay, and in your initial years, you're setting up a base of your brand, of your vision. It's very easy to get tempted away to shortcuts, ways in which you might mint money, but you lose your conscience. And
Yes.
a brand is not of 2 years, 5 years, 8 years. What Asha Gautam is, I see, is like 100 years down the line. And whomsoever will be taking forward the legacy will be taking something very strong with him or her. So it's very
Yes.
important to have the right seeds of the foundation. So we realized that the environment is a challenge in the country and in the world years back. And we realized the kind of, we hear about textile waste, we hear about water shortage, we hear about global warming. But what are we as a stakeholder? Each one of us, you, me, and everyone, is a stakeholder of it. If we have to develop something which is beyond a personality, which is beyond our choices, is a business models we are choosing in. And if a business model can, if not 100%, but in major ways can take an element of that and try to incorporate,
Yes.
it's something worthwhile doing, and it's something which has a very powerful impact. So imagine a luxury and a responsible luxury. Okay, so then itself brings a lot of, from the point of view, I I wish I can explain, but from the person who is making it, it's very fulfilling. It's very clean. It's very good to hear that you are actually doing handmade stuff. You're actually using biodegradable textiles, yarns. You're recycling. You are promoting handmade stuff. So these are very encouraging signs from even from the design team perspective, from the manufacturing perspective, and from the branding perspective. Because when you market, you're mentioning, okay, you are selling something which is timeless.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, fantastic. That was a great insight, Mr. Gautam. Thank you so much. I feel like this point that you kind of, so strongly put out that made in India products are actually luxury. And the work and the effort and the consciousness that actually goes around behind the product. We see a final product. And then all these things which, you as a brand owner, you as a co-founder, you as a visionary for your own brand have to take care of is something which more people need to speak about, because it's much more than pricing, it's much more than design, and it's much more than just a label, right? It is, like you very
Absolutely.
rightly said, it is your emotions, your sentiments, the country's pride and joy, hard work, craftsmanship, everything entangled into one product that finally reaches somebody.
Right. Absolutely. And I mean, say we do manufacture for all the best brands of the world, but why can't we just be the best brand of the world?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Do tell us something about the design process. I know you just mentioned about the craftsmanship. You mentioned about, your clean, conscious way of doing things at Asha Gautam. I'm very sure that there is a very strong design-led, movement that also happens in the company itself. Please tell us a little bit about your designing process at Asha Gautam.
Yeah, so Karishma, I've been blessed that I was born in Chandni Chowk. Okay. So what happens is that anyone who has been born or seen old Delhi, they have seen the real India at a very early age of his or her life. So I see diversity, I see a lot of chaos, a lot of craziness, a lot of multiple stories floating around me. And that was like till 12 years of my age, I was in Old Delhi. So, and my father, who was a ardent traveler, so he had this thing agenda that every year we have to go to some place twice, like, 2 times in a year, we have to go somewhere. He was very fond of hill stations, he was fond of heritage sites. All these visits, travels, and childhood memories have been incorporated in me and my mother for a long period of time. So, what happens with us is that when we start with our work, our past memories, take over our everything, and we start with those old memories and try to incorporate it in collection. So, we are very much attached to the nature. When we start working the florals or nature underwater, all these things comes naturally to us. Similarly goes with the heritage places we have been to, like, we have traveled to more than like 40 places in the country. I've traveled 70% of the India, so that itself means that I have seen a lot more places at a very early age. So when we design, when we work upon, those things first are picked up. Also, I proudly say that this label has been started by a woman in '98. We talk about women empowerment. We talk about respecting women, but fortunately, in our team, in our company, she is the head. So and for 24 years plus now. So we also get inspired from personalities in the history and in the present who are strong. So like we did a collection on Noor Jahan. A journey of her life was very inspiring. We did a journey of Jija Bhai. Her journey is very inspiring. So we keep on picking up strong characters, nature, heritage, all those kinds of thoughts when we design a collection and when we work upon it.
Yes.
In terms of fabrics, as I mentioned about the recycling and using different resources, what I realize is that there is a lot of agro waste which is there in the country, which is going waste. And, although this won't solve the stubble burning, but if we start using those resources, those waste, into our design process, slowly and steadily, it can become a big boost for the economy and for the farmers and for even a lot of other people. So, like
Yes.
bamboo itself is a great revenue source, not only in textiles, but anywhere in a lot of other spheres. So, we started working on banana yarns, yarns, and right now, just for for your information, I'm working on rose lotus yarns, which is made out of the waste of rose petals.
Fantastic. Wow.
And we send these yarns to our weavers, and we interlace them with mulberry silk yarn, which is a standard silk yarn used in making Indian silk, okay, handloom silk.
Yes.
And we create textiles for us.
Wow, this is very fascinating. I've never heard something like this. This is amazing, Mr. Gautam. Thank you so much for sharing this with everybody as well. This is amazing.
Yeah, thank you. And what happens is that we also in our brand, in our drawing board, we say beyond saris and lehengas, what next we can use those handloom designs for. So anything which a lot of handmade products or handlooms were pretty for. I say that don't pity them, empower them. And the
Yes.
way we can empower them is to create more things for them. So we have created, like, we have a diffusion label which is like Gigi by Asha Gautam, which talks about pantsuits, drapes, Western attires, dresses, corsets, and most of them are either made of handloom textiles or handmade embroideries.
Yes.
So application of handmade textiles is another thing which we are working on where else we can use it apart from just saris and lehengas. Where else can it be designed for? So the designing process again is from a background, our stories, our environment, and also in the application of the future. We cannot be just regressive about things. We have to look forward. So we have to look at of a 20 year plus, like what will be a 20-year plus thinking in 2040? What kind of our parents we will be indulging in? So keeping the traditions on one side and even accepting and embracing the modernity on the other side, both are important. You have to be balanced about things. And that's why we have kept two labels and maybe more labels to come, which will be having their own ideologies. So if Asha Gautam is all about heritage and preserving those crafts, GG is something which is talking the modern language.
Yes.
And maybe the third label will come later on, which will talk about the international language. But the roots or the Korean of his Indian handmade crafts, that will be the base. And out of this base, we will be developing roots.
I love the aspect of, how you, before I could ask you about the vision, you've actually told me what your vision is. This is brilliant. So, somebody who's, this just goes to show that you're so involved in the process of, actually not just the brand, but the connection of how it's going to evolve over a period of time. We somewhere down the line forget that it's almost like a child. Every single entity that we create as a brand also, it becomes as close to us as the child. And we'll never plan for a child only up to 15 years. We'll always plan for the child for eternity, right? And I love how you fuse the aspect of using all these sustainable fabrics. Nobody talks about it so much because, we always label luxury with using really expensive fabrics and, the touch and the feel of it. And, but nobody really embraces the fact that luxury is actually a state of mind. It's not really the kind of fabric that you have used, or it's not really the kind of design. It's about how much effort has gone into creating a product. What is the thought process? How much underlining background work has gone into finally creating a product? For me, that is more of a luxury. Even the story that you mentioned about, all your travels. And I always say this about art. I always say this about design. I feel like it is a transfer of empathy in the form of some materialistic thing.
True, absolutely.
It's my empathy translated into an art form. It could be a piece of fabric, it could be a curtain, it could be a pillow, it could be a canvas.
Absolutely.
It's my experiences, it's my empathy that I have translated and given to somebody else, and now it's open for them for interpretation. So thank you so much, Mr. Gautam, for sharing this whole insight about your vision for the brand. And I love how you have thought of such intricate detailing about what really stays relevant for us in the next 15-20 years. The use of the rose petal lotus fabric that you mentioned, bamboo itself, so many things in luxury couture, in things where we're only looking at no more just one angle, but we've explored, we've opened, and we're incorporating so many other things. This is, I think, one of the main essences of why along with your mom's vision and your vision, the brand is so successful today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I also say that, I always say that I am not any label of that. I am creating labels and creating ideologies because of various kinds of requirements of the world. Okay. And each property will be having a pie in the global world. So that's what the thought process is. Yeah.
Fantastic. This is amazing. Also, Mr. Gautam, I wanted to know something, when we talk about, we've spoken about sustainability, we've spoken about, the different heritage, we've spoken about your involvement as far as, the ecological growth of the company is concerned. Do tell us about, some challenges that you faced, over the years. I'm sure that, you being an entrepreneur, having, helping your mom as well, and her being in the head role, I'm sure you witnessed few certain challenges that you have, overcome. Please share some with us.
See, when you start from scratch, okay, so everything is a challenge from from monetizing or monetary resources point of view, from finding the right skills and artisans point of view, and from the information point of view. So I will say that these challenges are not like they came in a particular year or a particular moment. They are ever, they will be there all throughout our lives. The first and the biggest challenge was to find the right artisans. And as I mentioned, because there was a very limited information, traveling to those, for me, it was very fun, to be honest. I won't say it's a challenge, but it was very, very exciting for me to go on those narrow lanes. I remember traveling to Banaras without a ticket, okay? And I just had this, huge, what you can call determination that I will find the weavers who are, because no one was helping me out, okay? I know some people in Banaras, but they were not helping me out. I traveled to Banaras on like an impromptu plan. I took an intern designer with me, and we went and we started walking down the streets, finding from the auto walas over there and the rickshawalas over there and finding out the weaver. Actually, he found out the weaver who is working with me for more than a decade now.
Oh,
So it's
fab.
all about those finding those informations through your own means. Now it's not difficult. You have crafts mailers, you have weavers mailers, you have information on the internet. But back then it was very tough. So
Yes.
and it also they were very skeptical about working with a designer or with a solopreneur or with someone who is just a starter because they are used to work with wholesalers or mediators. So that safety or security was also a challenge for them. Rest everything, slowly and steadily, once you start overcoming one or two challenge, or you understand their linguistics and their languages and their DNA of working, then it's not a problem. But you have to be fair. So this I always say to every young designer who walks into my company or I meet anywhere. For if you have to grow in life, you have to be ethical. And if you have to be grow in line in Indian fashion, you have to be more ethical because your name matters and your brand will matter in sooner or later. So go
Yes.
on that right route of working, especially with the artisans, because they are only dependent upon you.
Yes, that is great insight. Thank you so much for sharing that as well. I feel like we do always know we focus on branding, marketing. We're focusing on again the external part and the grassroots level work. When it starts, it's so
Yeah.
difficult, and that it's like a puzzle, and then you start putting one piece together, and then as you mentioned, same person who you actually had an adventure,
Yeah.
uh, an adventurous ride to find is with
Yeah.
you for
Yeah.
for a decade now. So I feel
Yeah,
all the beautiful
absolutely.
stories, all the beautiful. I think all the interesting stories start with I travel ticketless.
But that was very amazing. I still remember that trip very well. It was amazing. Yeah, what happened.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you, Mr. Gautam. I want to ask you one question. Because you also now belong to a very thriving, fashion business, fashion industry, right? A fun question. Just so one fashion trend that you've never understood, okay? Where you're like, I this should just discontinue, right? And one fashion trend that you really like. If you can help us with both of these.
Okay, so honestly speaking, you find that I might be diplomatic about it. I don't feel any fashion trend which is not good. I think, fashion is something which is subjective. So people will like it and will not like few things.
Yeah.
Okay. As far as me goes, as an individual, I'm not very comfortable with very fitted clothes. Okay.
Yes.
So I'm not very comfortable with fitted t-shirts and with a lot of messaging on that. So that is one thing which I'm not comfortable. Someone else wears it, that's his or her choice.
Yes.
And the other thing is which you mentioned about the one trend which I love the most. See, I'm a person who can wear black anytime, any day of the year. Okay, so
Yeah.
that is something I think God has given me the best thing of the world by introducing black color. See, that is something I can carry and I can wear anytime. So yeah, that's one trend I really
I
love
think it's
to wear.
something to do with the color black. I feel like, it also not only does it make you feel comfortable, but I feel like it's such a nice color to be able to. There are so many people who tell you, don't wear black. It brings in negativity. Don't do that. So that school of thought is there. Okay, fine. But then there is another school of thought with like ardent fans like you and me, right, who do love black. That if we do wear it, it's just this element wherein we're feeling comfortable, we're feeling there's a little mystery to it also, right? And
I
it's
find strength in it. I
yeah,
find strength in it. And also because in my journey of fashion, I've been less on the office boy and more on the streets. So I
yeah,
feel that okay, wearing black, I'm fuss free. I don't care what happens to the clothes and where am I sitting and whom I'm meeting and everything. So
yes,
I don't have that kind of a polished atmosphere around me where I have to just be careful about okay, ye ganda na ho jaye ya spot na lag jaye. So that also gives me an advantage by wearing black.
yes,
So
it
yeah,
has such a huge utility factor, and nobody's talking about that. Thank you so much for
yeah,
saying it out loud.
yeah.
And I do agree with you as well that it's absolutely okay to wear black, and it's absolutely okay to have black as a favorite color also.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Gautam. Just as a parting message, I know that there are so many people who have small passions and they want to, start somewhere. They want to, they have a little bit of a dream to be able to begin somewhere. Um, Passionate young entrepreneurs as well, maybe somebody who wants to start out in the fashion industry also. One message from your end, as per your entire experience, your journey till now in this industry, if you could share one, I would call it like a ekdam life lesson kind of tippani if you had to share, please tell us something on that.
So although I mentioned it during the conversation that working hard is not like a choice, and then especially today's time, don't just blindly follow social media and say, okay, if this person has done this, it's very easy. No matter which person it is, hard work has no substitute. Okay, that is one thing. And second thing is that even when I go to college for some sessions and stuff, I say that today is not a time of being a generalist. It's important to be a specialist of one particular thing which you are very good in it, because it's an extremely competitive industry now. Okay, so if you are good in something or you have a strong knack for something now, become a specialist of that particular craft or ideology and master it. And believe you me, if you do these two things, I think there's a lot of success which will be waiting for you.
Yes, those were great words of advice. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
actually elaborating on that also. I do agree and resonate with them. They're beautiful words. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure and it's been lovely to have you here. I've
Yeah.
personally resonated with so many things that you said, and I've got to learn a few things also about what you said about your entire journey, right? I I'm a very big fan of the brand. I love the Asha Gautam brand. I love your journey. Today, meeting you, speaking to you, I've actually understood what really brings about that element of, grandeur, or that element of excitement and fun in a brand. It's the people behind it. And
Right.
I'm very happy to be able to, have this conversation with you today. Thank you, Mr. Gautam, for coming here.
Thank you so much, Karishma. Thank you so much.